Hey everybody, it's Rory from A&S Gear, and what looks like a basic XLS shocker box is definitely not. This is the brand new amp from Shocker Paintball. Let's open it up and see what you're gonna get inside of this one. So we've got our barrel sleeve right there. We've got our XL barrels, and these are Cocker threaded, so you get it with a 689 insert in there, but it is XL, Freak XL style. On this side over here, let me get that in there. You've got a Allen key set right there. And then on this side, you've got some shocker grease and then a parts kit. It's got some basic O-rings, a new reg seat, couple screws, things to keep your shocker up and running. Let's flip it open and look at this beauty right here. So right off the bat, we can see there are some cosmetic differences to the outside of it. We've got the new front grip on here. They've slimmed it down and made it much more streamlined with the fit of the body. So it contours with the front right now, and it doesn't feel like a bulky add-on or something that was just wrapped around it. It now fits more to the front of it. You can see that they've slimmed down the actual reg assembly right here in order to make this fit just so much nicer, and it just slots right up in there, fits in, no gaps, no creases or anything like that. It feels really nice up on the front. Eye covers are a different shape now, so obviously older versions are not going to work with this, like the XLS accent kits. You're not going to be able to stick on here because the shape is different. Still have our clamping feed neck lever on there. We've got our frame and grip, and it's all pretty much looks the same, this part right here, but we've got definitely a new backside to it right here. Check this out. This has got the new twist lock on it, so we just need to rotate the bolt. You just kind of an 1/8 of a turn, well, not even that much, maybe like a 1/16 of a turn backwards, and that's going to allow the bolt to slide right out. Put the bolt back in, push it in, rotate, and it's locked back in place. Super simple to get the bolt out. We'll get more into the bolt in just a couple minutes, but easy release bolt on the backside, and then, you know, it kind of looks like an XLS still. It's got the same overall body shape, definitely not the same design though. New milling cuts, new everything on the outside here, but definitely looks and feels like a shocker, although it just feels better than the XLS did, in my opinion right there. So let's go ahead and start opening this thing up so you guys can get an idea of what's going on inside. So I'm just going to take the bolt out and I'm going to set it to the side for now. Right there. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Let's get this apart. So inside, the regulator assembly has pretty much stayed the same. It functions the same, it adjusts the same, the reg seat's the same, so all the pieces in there that you're used to seeing before, it is still the same inside there, so that has not changed. Really from here back is where everything is different on the inside. So let's go ahead and start taking the grips off. We'll get everything out of there. And we'll talk about what's different to me and why it's better. So let's get our grip screws off. All right, get that there. Flip that over. Get that off of there. Let's pull that out of there. This side looks the same. If you're used to seeing what that looks like on the inside, you're like, well, that looks the same. But when I flip it over, the first thing I saw when I flipped this over and looked inside of it, I went, oh, they got rid of the battery harness, which is awesome. And these guns right here, before you had a battery harness that was plugged in over here on the side and it came out and you had to wrap it around the terminals to get rid of all the extra play and slack in that battery harness. That's all gone. Now they have a hard wired tab right here, so it just slots and drops right in. No longer do you need to worry about wiring or anything like that, getting pinched by your grips or just being in the way. It's now just drop it in and you're ready to go. I love it. That's I couldn't tell you how happy I was when I saw that right there. I was like, well, that's the way it should be, like that. So I'm glad they figured that or changed that to get rid of that wiring harness or that battery harness. All right, so next thing, let's move on to pulling the frame off of here. in the past, you need to remove the front and rear frame screw to get that off. So let's start with the rear frame screw. Take that out. And we'll move on to nothing, really. There is no front frame screw. You can see right there that there isn't one. Once you remove the rear frame screw out of there, all you're going to do is just pivot it down and take it off. You can see that there is a hook assembly on the front right here. That notches into a piece up in the front, and you just pivot it in and tighten it down. It's that easy to get it off. Remove the rear frame screw, rock it off, and take it off. As you can see now, what used to have a I-wire harness that came this way and then came down and plugged in right here, plus a solenoid wire that came down and plugged into here, all gone. No longer do we have any wires that run from the body into the frame. So that's all gone. All those pinch points, the wiring that ran along the side of the solenoid that had those two little clamp pieces, or those wire pieces that held the wiring from the eyes in place, that's all gone. We don't need any more of that on there. We've got our solenoid sitting here. Our solenoid now plugs directly into a board that runs along the side right here, up to the front where our wiring for our eyes comes in and plugs into that board as well. Before, the wiring ran up all along the side and then up like this and then into the gun. No more of that. All the wiring for the top side of the body, the eyes, and the solenoid stays on the top side of the body. The connection between this board in here and this board right here is now done through this junction point right here. So when the frame rocks in and connects up in, it makes contact with this section of the board that you can see right down in there. There you go. Connection made. Everything's talking and communicating together. So no more wires between the top and the bottom. Another godsend when it comes to this gun right here. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. All right. Now, let's get into this piece right here. So we're looking at this. Looks very similar to, well, I shouldn't say looks similar. It looks reminiscent of what we saw in the other one, where we had the transfer going back to the solenoid assembly. But now, since they've gotten rid of the QEV out of this section of the gun and integrated it into the bolt itself, now we just have a straight tube that goes from here all the way back and into the solenoid area and into the bolt area back here. It's been already regulated by the front regulator, so that air that has been regulated here gets transferred into the tube, back into the solenoid and into the bolt, and ready to rock. These guns are running at an extremely low pressure now, so it doesn't take a lot of force or a lot of pressure through the regulator to make these guns work, and they shoot amazing. So let's move on back to this side back here. So one of the cool features about the amp is the ability to switch from a mechanical to an electric gun and back. We've got the electric setup right here. We've got our electric solenoid inside here, and we have our electric frame right here. When it comes time to switch this over to a mechanical setup, we'll have our mechanical frame, our new valve assembly, which will be the mechanical one, which will replace our electric solenoid, and that's it, basically. But getting that apart, is it easy? Is it hard? Well, I'm here to show you that it's very easy. You see this lever that's on the back side right here? All I need to do is disconnect my solenoid wire from the board. I'm going to take this lever and I'm going to fold it down like that, and then whoop, I'm going to slide my solenoid out. I'll take the new mechanical valve, slide it in, lock it up, put my new mechanical frame on, and I'm done. It is that easy to switch between a mechanical and an electric system. Super simple, super straightforward, super easy. Now this part right here, if we want to, we could remove all of this out as well, and it's not difficult. First thing I'm going to do, if I wanted to pull the rest of this apart, is there's two screws right here, which I can take out of this section, like this. And then the two screws that hold the bolt lock in place, which are right here. We pull these two screws out, 1 and 2. And this is going to allow us to slide this mechanism out. Let me get these out of here first. Like that. So underneath here, we do have a couple of O-rings where the gas is going to come through this tube into the manifold and then up into the gun where it needs to be and into the bolt assembly and then up into the solenoid. So as we're moving these things around, if we ever pull this thing out of here, you do need to be a little bit careful as to where your O-rings are. You've got some O-rings right there, and you've also got 2 O-rings on the face of the solenoid manifold where these 2 pieces are going to meet up. So know that there's O-rings in there and know that you need to be careful of them. From here, we can take this tube and we can just pull it right out. This tube has our magnet for our trigger, which is going to keep our trigger return going right there, and also is our transfer of our gas. I'm going to set this down and just move it so you guys can get a better look at all of this stuff right here. All right, so transfer tube, our hinge system right here. So as our gas comes up through here, it's directed through this piece right here to come through the tube, and also allows us to hinge our frame onto that. And that's this blue section you see up at the front right here. We could remove that out, but there's no reason to take it out of there because all it is just the device that transfers the air. So that's super cool. I love this whole system right here. And then you can see our board. It's a very thin, very small board that runs just along the inside here and just to the back where everything's ready to rock and roll. Pretty cool. Let's put this back together and this back together, and then we'll explore the bolt a little bit more. So we'll take this and we're going to slide it forward. Ooh, before I do that, let me show you one other thing. So if you ever do take this out, inside here there is 2 little brackets. There's a bracket right there and a bracket right here. This bracket helps keep the board in place on this side, but it also is the location of where this piece needs to sit. So this black assembly that you see right here fits in between those 2 brackets right there. So we're going to push this in, and then we're going to make sure that that nests down right in there, just like that. All right, that way this can't shift front and back as well. It can't slide around inside of here. Then we're going to take this piece and we're going to slide it back in, and our fitting is going to come in through here and go into there. So we're going to start from the back, slide that forward, push that into place, flip that over because this part goes on the front side. We're going to take our 2 screws for this, get those in place right there. And then our 2 solenoid housing screws and put them in and snug them up. And again, I'm just snugging it up. I'm not getting crazy with it. These have a blue Loctite on them from the factory to keep them from backing themselves out. So there we go. That's all back together. Now I'm going to set this up here. I'm going to fold this down so that it gives us our travel that we need. I'm going to slide my solenoid in, and then I'm going to clip my lever on. Solenoid's installed. I'm going to plug it in, tuck my wiring over, take my frame, hinge it in the front, put it together, and tighten it down. Just like that. Couldn't be any easier than that. I guess it could be, but that's pretty easy. All right, our bolt. Here we go. Let's get this apart. So front part's going to unscrew off of here like this. We've got our actual bolt mechanism. This is the piece that slides back and forth. That's going to go like that. Unscrew this. We've got this. this, this, and just line all these pieces up for you. That runs through there, so I'm going to put it in there like that. And then we've got this back piece right here. Now this back piece is disassemblable. You've got a pin that I don't know if I have my pick up here right now to get this apart. I do. So you get a pick in there, you can pull up this little metal bracket right here, and this is what hinges the back piece in place. So you can pull that out like this, which allows the back cap to come off. You do need to be careful. There's a tiny little bearing that's inside there, and that's why when you rotate it, you can feel it locking into the different positions. That's what this bearing does right there. There's also a tiny little spring right here, and that's where the bearing sits. When we put it back together, we're going to put that bearing right on that spring so that it can be pushed down and go click, 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 back and forth. But I don't want to lose it while we're playing with it, so I'm going to pull it out right there. We've got that piece there. And inside here is another spring that's inside here. I'm going to leave that one in there. I just wanted to move it and put it into place. And that spring goes inside of here, which gives us this motion right there. All right. Once we've got this assembly out, we can take this and slide it out. And this is our locking pin. When we rotate the back of our bolt, this slides up and down, and it locks into this piece on the inside. So when we turn it, it drops down and locks the bolt in place. When we turn it back, it slides up so that it can come out there. Super easy, super simple to slide that out. And then last but not least, we talked about how they removed the QEV from the gas path in through here and put it into the bolt. That is this little piece right there. And then the diaphragm for it is down inside of there. And it's the same diaphragm, I believe, that they used before. You can see it right there. So now this is directional. It needs to go in a certain way when you put it back together. So this piece right here needs to fit into the cup, and the point of the diaphragm needs to be pointing away. You don't want to put it on there like this, like it's a radar antenna or something like that. It needs to be the other way, just like that, like it's wearing a hat right there. This allows, when gas pressure comes this way towards this diaphragm, the diaphragm can collapse down and let the air come past it and escape out. But when air is coming this way, it makes the diaphragm inflate out and it seals up. So that's what a quick exhaust valve is. It lets air pass one way, lets the bolt vent out quickly one way, but when air comes the other way, it won't let it pass that direction. All right, so let's put that back in there. Get that down in there. Perfect. We're going to assemble the back side first because this is always the trickier part. So I'm going to put my spring in place first. Then I'm going to put my bearing on top of there. Actually I shouldn't do that yet because I got to put some other things on here first. All right, this goes this way, right back up like this into there. Now if we look in here, you can see that there's a slot cut out right here. It might be kind of hard to see, but there's a slot right there. And on the bottom of this, there's a slot here. So there's a pin in the back of our bolt. This pin needs to come through this round or crescent shaped slot and go into this slot. So we want to line up those two so that they're in line with each other so that this pin can pass through both and lock in there. I'm going to put my bearing into that little spring. I'm going to take my pin and put my pin in there, and then I'm going to push it all together. And then I'm going to turn it so that it pops up. So now my bolt lock is up. right here. But I'm not going to let go because I don't want it to come apart. Take my little pin, it's almost like a cotter pin, and then I'm going to push it down. That locks the two pieces together in place so that they can't come apart. And now we can rotate it. You can see when I rotate it, that pops out, rotate it back, pops in, out, in, out, in, out. All right, so let's put this back together. Line those two pieces up. Put our bolt together. Snap, 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 snap. Super easy, especially when we're getting into maintenance and things like that. Very easy to take care of. Slide our bolt in all the way forward, lock it in place, and we are done. Get our grips, put our grips back on, put our screws back together, and we are back to one solid, simple gun. I love it, I love it, I love it. All the things that always frustrated me with the XLS, especially the wiring, all taken care of, all tidy, all nice and neat. So nice. And that is that. So check the website for available colors on the amp, and then soon, if by the time you're watching this video it might already be out, but the mechanical frame setups will be out, as well as the mechanical valve to replace the electronic solenoid. It's all easy switch. You saw how simple it is to take apart. It's a beautiful, amazing gun. The new amp. Get yours at ansgear.com.